So I had a store manager call me at 4:30 in the morning on Saturday morning, right? Because of the blizzard. And so I was up at 4:30. And so like 5 a.m., I'm like, I'm going to go lay on the couch. And I'm going to turn this movie on. I'm going to start watching it. And I got half an hour into it. And I was like, I cannot focus enough for everything that's fucking happening in this movie right now.
Yes,
like I need to watch this later after I've been up for several hours and had multiple cups of coffee. Because there's a lot going on.
That's actually, it's funny you said, because I bought it like the night it came out. I was like, all right, I'm excited to watch it. I put it on, but it was late because I think I did like a midnight drop. I was like, all right, I'm gonna watch this, and it took me like 5 times to watch this.
And we are back. We're back. Welcome to the Movie Dads podcast. We're your hosts. I'm Howie.
I'm Kyle.
That is Kyle. We're back from another mini hiatus. This one more about scheduling things in our personal life and Snowmageddon than anything else.
We're getting another one on Friday, by the way.
Oh my God. Shoot me. Our children have not left the house until today for years. It felt like
yeah, fucking forever.
It felt
and
like
it's 2 degrees, or it's negative like 8 degrees actually.
It was
so cold.
It was a pile of snow and horrible things. It was terrible. Yeah. But anyway, episode 33, Kyle. Mm-hmm. We're mixing it up because of our delay. We're going to watch or review the new DC Animated film. Instead, we were supposed to do Aquaman 2.
I never saw it.
It's fine. It's all good. Snow apocalypse. Episode 33, Crisis on Infinite Earths Part 1 of a 3-part movie series. So that's this episode. That's episode 33. Before we get into that, though, if you're watching us on YouTube, please click the like and subscribe. Click that bell. Leave us a comment. Tell us what you like. Tell us what you don't like. If you're not watching us on YouTube, hopefully you're listening to us on one of the many podcast networks, such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, Google Podcasts, and Podcast Index. You can also catch some of our short videos and clips on social media at Movie Dads Pod on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. But we're movie dads. We've got movie kids. We've already kind of jumped into it, but snow apocalypse. We got over last Monday and Tuesday, I don't remember, it was like 6 inches of snow, right? Over the course of the 2 days. No big deal. It's snow. Whatever. Kids were out of school Monday because it started, and then they were out of school Tuesday because it was still snow on Tuesday morning, right? And it was a big, heavy, wet, pain in the ass snow because it was like 32 degrees, right? So the kids missed 2 days of school. They go to school Wednesday, which is a short day. Then they go to school Thursday, and what happens Thursday night? We get a frickin' blizzard. Comes in.
Yeah, fucking foot or 2 of snow.
It drops like another foot of snow, but it brings along heavy winds, super light blowing snow that won't stay in one spot, and the most ridiculously sub-zero temperatures the freaking Midwest can conjure up. So the kids are literally inside. My wife's nuts. She's like bouncing off the walls, just like. Then today the kids go back to school because they didn't have school yesterday because of Martin Luther King Day. So they're supposed to go back today. Right. Last night, all these other school districts start canceling school, and like we're all like, no.
Yeah,
don't do it. Because it was so freaking cold today. No. Send these kids to school. They end up having a 2-hour late start, thank goodness. But like we played a lot of Mario Kart. We did Legos again. Yeah. Me and Des did Legos. Like anything we could think of to pass the time, we were doing. Reagan and I watched every Scream movie over the course of the last several days, like at night. And then, of course, there was playoff football. So I spent a lot of time with my family. I'm glad things are back to normal. I left the house. I went to work. I work from home some of the time. I did a lot of that during the weather. Man, it was good to get out of the house, and it was good to have the kids back at school because it was a lot.
Yes. On Thursday night, I went to pick up Cal and Parker from daycare, which is usually like a 10-minute drive. And it started snowing like right when I left. And it snowed so quick and so bad that like the roads immediately were ice rinks. And it took like an hour and a half to get 10 minutes away and back. Like the traffic was so bad. So we kind of did the same thing, just cooped up in the house, losing our minds, watching a lot of football. The boys this past week and a little bit more have been on like a Star Wars kick. So it's been like great because they're now at an age where they're really watching, they really know what's going on, they know who characters are, they remember who people are. And like we've watched them and I've had them on in the past, and Grayson will know like some moments or things, but now they're like they know they know the order of the movies. They know like who Anakin is, who he becomes, who Luke is. And what I've been doing with them the last couple of nights, or at least last week, we right before bed, I'd put on the Gendry Tartakovsky Clone Wars. I think I've talked about it on this show before, but basically the guy who did Samurai Jack did these cool short little Star Wars like Clone Wars cartoons that when they originally made them, they were 2-minute shorts. I think I've already talked about this on an episode before, but so I'm not going to go into it. But we've been watching those and they freaking love them. They have been obsessed with them. And that has snowballed into, because that ends right on episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, like right before it starts. And so like Palpatine gets kidnapped by Grievous at the end of this thing, and then the movie starts. So we've been watching the movie. So we watched Revenge of the Sith. We've been going through the movies, and now we're on The Mandalorian. So yesterday we watched one episode of Mandalorian season 1, which is by far the best freaking season. Like, what a great show. Just Mandalorian season 1 is epic. It is the Boba Fett show that we always wanted. We've been doing that. Just lots of Star Wars, lots of hanging out, just being cooped up in the house with everybody, losing our minds. As you can tell, how crazy I've gone.
Hey, man, I get it.
We're all
it is well
losing
justified.
Our minds.
Bouncing off the walls.
Yes.
Pets' heads are falling off.
Heads are falling off. But I guess that, I mean, for me, that transitions perfectly into our next segment, my most excited segment, our 6 to midnight. This is the things that get us up in the morning, things that get us excited for the week, whatever nerdy thing we're into right now, new movie trailers, new video games, whatever that might be. We're talking about Star Wars. News came out not too long ago, I think almost a week now, but we haven't had an episode yet. They announced that Dave Filoni is doing a Mandalorian and Grogu movie with Jon Favreau as the director, which, like, yes, hell yes. Like I just said, the first season of Mandalorian was like, it has Jon Favreau's fingerprints all over it. It was his baby, with Filoni as like the Emperor Palpatine, George Lucas in the background, giving him all of the things to do. So I'm excited that I think it's going into production this year. So I didn't see a release date listed yet, but I'm fucking juiced. I think that's going to be awesome. Those two guys like get my kind of movie. When I think of like Jon Favreau and Iron Man 1, like, fuck yes. Mandalorian, like I said, it was everything we wanted Boba Fett to be in a show, or getting to follow him a little bit more. They decided last minute not to make it Boba Fett and make him a new Mandalorian. But originally that was supposed to be Boba Fett, just so everybody knows.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Did you see that? What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, I'm pretty excited about that. I think it gives them, like, listen, like you can do, I don't know how many episodes, how many seasons of a show of that production caliber, right? Like,
yeah,
I'm pretty sure when they signed on and started doing The Mandalorian, there was they had a plan. Like, this is going to be this many seasons, right? Like, we're bringing in Pedro Pascal, pretty big name. He's huge now, right? Like, we've talked about how his star has gone off like a freaking rocket in the last year and a half. We've brought in all these other characters. Like, fucking Baby Yoda Grogu was like this giant commercial success, right? Like, everybody it was beyond what anybody thought it was going to be, right? And then I think it was the end of season 2. You bring in Luke Skywalker, you bring Mark Hamill back as young Luke Skywalker, and like, he's been on a couple episodes. You brought Ahsoka back through The Mandalorian. Like, everything you've done with this show has been epic in scale. It only seems fitting if they basically say, in which they didn't come out and say it, but like, if we say we're doing 3 seasons and then we're ending this sucker with a bang and we're doing a full-on movie.
Fucking
right?
Badass movie.
Well, the great thing about that is too, is if you tell another, like the 3rd season, or 4 seasons, like whatever it is, like say you're going to do a 4th season and it's very cohesive, you tell a great story, right? Then you go right into a movie. The good thing is that you can wrap everything up and say it's done. Or if you want to continue it like 10 years later, you just do another movie. You don't have to keep doing the show over and over again. I think it's a great decision. I think it's pretty exciting to see. That doesn't happen a lot. It's a pretty weird experiment, but Disney's does a really good job with that kind of thing. So I'm excited to see where it goes. I think it's a great decision.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the Mandalorian character for them, I think obviously they knew it was going to be big, or that was going to be a cool thing. I don't think they realized how much that show was really going to kick off like Star Wars again for so many people. Like with how the final 2 movies came out, with like people very on the fence. We've talked about it a million times. Like, Force Awakens was great, everyone was juiced, and then everything sucked. This got people back like excited. It was kind of like Marvel has done with their movies, of like intertwining different lores and different characters and stories in different places, and then giving us spinoffs that we're now following. And so, but that character himself, like, he's kind of become like the current leading face of Star Wars right now. I would say that he's kind of like, he can do no wrong. And that these seasons come out and like people are going to love it. They're going to eat them up. The Boba Fett show came out and people did not like it. It was not doing well. And then they decided they're going to do a Mandalorian episode, like at the end, or one of the second to last episodes. And then everybody was like, my favorite episode of Boba Fett season is the Mandalorian episode. Like,
well, absolutely. So, and the cool thing about it is like, if you think about this generation's Star Wars, it's more Mando than it is the sequel trilogy, right? Like, I mean, that's the way I look at it. Like, especially our kids' age, like that 7-8-year-old kids range, that they know Mando more than they know Rey at this point, right? Like, my daughter was really into the sequel trilogy because she really liked Rey. She liked that character. She liked that. Obviously, even my daughter knows that those last 2 movies weren't very good. I mean, there was a lot of issues with those, and I think Mando's been the most positive thing to come out of Star Wars since Disney took it over, like by far, and that's why I think it's so recognizable. Everybody knows what Baby Yoda is. Even people that don't like watch or get into Star Wars know what Baby Yoda is.
Yeah, it's true. Well, and I think really with how Ahsoka did with bringing Grand Admiral Thrawn into live action, I think that's probably going to be where they go with the like main bad guy, like somehow kind of intertwining that. But like Thrawn, Mandalorian, that's a movie absolutely that I would fucking love to see. So that was my 6 Midnight. Excited for it. Also reminds me of the new Star Wars game that's supposed to come out this year too. So like, I'm just, I've got my Boba Fett sweatshirt on. You probably can't really tell, but
you can.
I am. Yeah, it's like embossed into the sweatshirt, so
it doesn't show up well on the camera.
You've got to feel it to be able to know it's there.
I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, but there's a new Star Wars video game coming out too. So like between all this Star Wars stuff, I am just excited. I can't wait.
Yeah, well, it's exciting.
What you got?
So I had 3 things this week. For first off, after last episode, I finished my background, so that I think
Looks great.
Turned out pretty good. Yeah, I redid my entire basement. I've got new art, posters, figures. It's nerd haven. So
yeah, it looks
excited
awesome
for you to check it out. But there was a new deal. So it's kind of big movie news last week. But Tom Cruise signed like this new movie deal. Tom Cruise has been at Paramount forever, right? All the Mission Impossibles, Top Gun, like all Paramount exclusives. I think the Jack Reacher movies were Paramount stuff too. Anyway, he signed this like exclusive rights deal with Warner Brothers, which is kind of a big deal, Warner Discovery, that's going to let him produce and star in like new franchise movies. So basically sign him to this big deal. And so that, everybody's talk was, well, what does that mean for his franchises at Paramount? Well, on the heels of that, it sounds like he signed a new deal to make a new Top Gun. So,
oh yeah, I did see that.
Sounds like Top Gun 3 is in the works. He's coming back. Miles Teller's coming back. Like Glenn Powell's coming back. Yeah.
Give me more Rooster. I fucking love that.
That whole movie rocked. So it'd be exciting to see what that turns into, and then kind of what the future looks like at Warner Discovery, because it talked about franchises. So, I mean, we can't how successful Top Gun's been, even though the time in between them. And then Mission Impossible's huge, right? Even though Dead Reckoning came off kind of meh, it was a great movie. It just didn't set the world on fire at the box office, and we still got part 2 of that coming out. But kind of makes you wonder what franchises he's going to be getting into, if it's going to be new original stuff or if he's going to take a stab at something that's already out there and remake or sequel or whatever, kind of like Mission Impossible was. It'd be kind of interesting to see. And then
dude, Tom Cruise he is the same guy in every movie. He's the same guy in every movie. And I still fucking love watching his movies. I don't know what it is about Tom. Like, it's probably like the fucking, all the rituals they're doing with Scientology. I don't know what it is, but like, the man hasn't aged a day.
No,
his charisma is, it's amazing. I want more.
It's weird, right? Because like, in Hollywood, there's so many people that you're just like, ugh. Like, like what? That's a guy's a weirdo. Tom Cruise, it is everything a weirdo should be, right? Like, there was all that crap remember when all that crap with him and Katie Holmes, and then she ended up, they like, had the kids, and then she left, and like, he doesn't see his kids. And everybody tells you he's like the nicest guy in the world, but he like sets off all these red flags with the Scientology and the stuff with his kids and stuff. But I want to see his movies because I like his movies, right? And I like him as an actor. Great. Like he's badass. But yeah, it's weird. It's weird how he just keeps on producing. He's made all these movies, 80s, 90s, 2000s, 2010s, 2020s. Like he just can't hit. He hits. That's all he does.
I am disappointed that The Mummy. We got a fucking Mummy franchise with Tom Cruise in it, and it didn't take off. It's a bummer. Anyways.
Because that movie was shit.
Yeah.
But like, there's so much potential.
The actress in that who plays, what was she just in? She was in
the Rebel Moon. Right? She's the main character in Rebel Moon.
Yeah. Maybe that one will be one that we go back in a couple of years and we're like, yeah, this movie was better than we thought.
I mean, think about what they set up. They set up for him to be the new Mummy. They set up Russell Crowe as Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, which was wild. And it's like, remember they had cast everybody. Like, Benicio del Toro was the Wolfman. They'd already made that movie, right?
Yeah.
And then they had like Javier Bardem was going to be like, was he going to be like Dracula or Frankenstein or something? Mm-hmm. Johnny Depp was going to be like the Invisible Man. Like they had it all set. And then the Mummy single-handedly destroyed the universe, like the dark universe. So
they didn't Iron Man 1. They did not Iron Man 1. They did more John Carter.
I know, but they had all these stars that like it seemed like it was a sure thing, and then but now they're remaking Frankenstein. Have you heard this? Like Guillermo del Toro's doing Frankenstein.
Oh. Yes, I did know that. And which is going to be great.
Well, Andrew Garfield was supposed to play the monster, but he backed out, and it's Jacob Elordi has taken that spot, which I think is a good fit.
But who did you just say backed out of being
Andrew Garfield?
Oh, Andrew Garfield. In my head, I thought, I don't know why, but I was thinking the guy who played Harry Potter, and I was like, wait, he was already in a Frankenstein movie.
Oh
but
yeah, he was.
Mind,
Yeah,
forget,
I know what you're talking about, but
yeah,
totally different.
But
anyway, yeah. So that and the other thing I wanted for 60 Minutes is I had to add this on, and I like to do these bonus movie reviews when I see something that I want to recommend. So my kids really wanted to see Wonka. My 12-year-old daughter has this thing for Timothée Chalamet, whatever. And then
he's a babe. He's bae number one. Dune. Right. Hello.
Pass.
What?
Twink.
He's
son.
Oh my God! You shut your mouth.
Whatever.
Oh, Timothée Chalamet.
My 7-year-old son is like, oh yeah, no, I like Willy Wonka. I want to see it. And I'm like, all right. So it was last week during Snowmageddon. It was $5 Tuesday or whatever. And I was like, well, school got canceled. We're going to go see friggin' Wonka. So I took him to see Wonka, and it was light years better than I thought it was going to be. It was
really
surprisingly good. And it's killing it at the box office, but it was a very enjoyable movie. I really liked it. So
do you think that's because the movie was good or because Timothée Chalamet is fucking awesome?
No, it's because the movie was good. I could take him or leave him, honestly. He wasn't bad. I don't think I've ever seen anything where he's not just Timothée Chalamet. I don't know. Maybe it's just.
Did you see that movie on Netflix where he plays I think it's called The King or something like that?
No.
He actually, that was probably the movie that really caught my attention of his dude, I like this guy. He plays some ancient king in England or something that really? Took over the throne as an 18-year-old or something.
Twink.
And gets baptized by war, and it's a great epic. It's a fucking awesome epic. Really? It's very Braveheart. But sorry, when you're throwing me all off with that, I was trying to make sure that we're talking good about the Messiah, the Dune Messiah. And you're sitting here wrecking him. He also was in. Did you know he was in Interstellar too? Really? I saw There's a really it's gonna blow your mind. I saw an interview the other day, or there was someone interviewed Timothée Chalamet about interesting facts about him or something. I can't remember how it came up, but basically he had said he was in Interstellar, and it was his first big movie. He's the kid brother.
Oh, shit.
He's the son that Matthew McConaughey gives his truck to. He's the kid brother.
He's like, all right. Here's the keys to the truck.
Yeah, it's yours now. That movie was his big break, his big breakout movie, his big starring role. And he talks about it, how he went and saw it in the movie theater, and that he cried on his way back home because as a kid, he was thinking I'm in this big movie, I'm about to be this movie star, or it's gonna be my big break. And his character is really only in it for like 2 scenes at the beginning of the movie.
Right.
He's not in really any of the movie. So he was really heartbroken, or it kind of bummed him out because he thought he was going to be a bigger part of the movie, and it was just in 2 scenes. So
no, now you're Wonka.
Anyways,
deal with it.
Yeah. So yeah, I didn't realize that was him either. So he's surprisingly been in a lot more movies than you think. But
yeah,
nice Wonka. Nice. I'm excited for that. That's not
good.
It's not a remake of Willy Wonka and the Chocolate
Factory.
Correct?
It's a prequel. Right. Yeah. It's kind of like how he decides to become this chocolatier,
fucking weirdo,
and whatnot, and how he has to battle to build his own shop and stuff. And it's good. It's good.
Wild man with.
There's a ton of people in it too that I didn't realize were in it, but
really is it good. A musical?
It's very much so a musical. Yes.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, it makes sense.
Lots of singing and dancing. You'll right up your alley. You'll be good. And it uses songs from the.
What's that supposed to mean? Yeah, I like.
You like a good musical. I like a good musical. It's fine. There's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
But it uses songs too, from the original, Gene Wilder, Willy Wonka.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, that's cool. All right. So
sweet.
Anyway, that's our end of our 6 to Midnight. That takes us into our big premiere movie of the week, the streaming exclusive right now. DC animated movie Crisis on Infinite Earth Part 1. So this is this came out on January 9th of this year. So this is brand spanking new, right? Comes out within the last week. This is a Warner Brothers and DC animation film. It's part of what's called the Tomorrowverse in the DC anime. It's the 7th film in the Tomorrowverse that started out with Superman Man of Tomorrow. And that's kind of what's established. They had the DCAU, right? Like the DC Animated Universe. They had a very, like, I don't remember how many movies were in that. Was there 14?
Yeah, something like
DCAU,
that.
something like that. And it ended with like Justice League Dark Part 2, I think was the last one. Right?
Which was great. They're
all great. They're all good.
Yeah.
And then they have their one-offs and stuff, but this is what they call their Tomorrowverse series. So this is the 7th one in that. So Crisis on Infinite Earth Part 1 is a part 1 of a 3-part series of movies that will all premiere this calendar year, supposedly. So they're all supposed to come out this year. So I would assume we'll see Part 2 sometime in the summer, and then we'll see Part 3, I'm assuming, at the end of the year is what that looks like. So this is based on the 1980s comic by Marv Wolfman and George Perez. The movie was directed by Jeff Waymeister, and the scriptwriter was Jim Krieg. So the cast for this is Darren Criss as Superman. He's been Superman in the Tomorrowverse since the first one, Superman Man of Tomorrow. Stana Katic is Wonder Woman and Superwoman. Jensen Ackles, Batman, who's been in several. He's great as Batman.
He's so freaking good as Batman.
It's amazing. And then
God,
our main character in this one is the Flash, Barry Allen, who's played by Matt Bomer. So those are our main main cast.
Which is my biggest draw. Matt Bomer is fucking awesome. So Crisis on Infinite Earths is like, it's largely regarded as like the most famous like crisis or crossover multiverse event in like comic book history. This is like the biggest thing that kicked it off, that has obviously now Marvel and DC have both done multiple like crises or these huge crossovers that are multiverse. Obviously, we have been seeing a ton of multiverse stuff like in movies and TV over the last 2 or 3 years. And this is what like first kicked all that off. Comic book is really popular. There's like so many famous like comic book like art from this book too that's used today. And it's just in the comic, it has a million heroes and characters in it from all these different universes. So I was really excited that they were doing this movie because I mean, it's an 80s comic, so it's kind of hard to read. It's kind of hard to follow. And I think the movie did a great job of being kind of hard to follow. And like, it truly felt like, and this isn't a movie that I feel like I really have to worry about spoilers or anything because no one's going to watch it in the theater or anything like that. But
yeah, it was exclusive animated film, right? Like you're going to watch it. If you don't want spoilers, I'll tell you right now, like don't, skip ahead to the end of this. We'll put the timestamp on it, but like we're going to just dive right into this because it's an streaming exclusive movie. We're going to go full spoilers on this. So if you want your spoiler warning, just here it is now, because we're just going to talk about the movie contents. And go to the end. But I'm with you.
It was hard to follow. Like it was fucking bouncing around everywhere.
I got to tell a little bit of a story about this. So we had decided, I think, Friday night to do this. There was no way I could record Friday night. You hadn't seen Aquaman yet. We were in the middle of snow blizzard. So it was like, we got to decide to do something else. We talked about doing some other movies, like maybe something else we can stream that like had recently come out. And then you suggested this, and it was like, well, that's good because it fills that DC void, and we're more than likely doing a better quality movie than something out of the DC.
Yeah, it's right? Probably better than.
And I've seen Aquaman, and I will probably go ahead and say, yeah, this is probably a better movie, 100%. So I got up. So Snowpocalypse, like. I manage 25 retail stores, right? Like, that. And this weekend was utter fucking madness for me. I had to charge my phone multiple times each day because I was on it so much, like trying to talk through closings and like pipes bursting and like doors not being able to shut or like freezing cold temperatures because the heater went out. Like that happened multiple times over the weekend. It was fucking insane. So I had a store manager call me at 4:30 in the morning on Saturday morning, right? Because of the blizzard. And so I was up at 4:30. And so like 5 a.m., I'm like, I'm going to go lay on the couch and I'm going to turn this movie on. I'm going to start watching it. And I got half an hour into it. And I was like, I cannot focus enough for everything that's fucking happening in this movie right now.
Yes,
like I need to watch this later after I've been up for several hours and had multiple cups of coffee. Because there's a lot going on.
That's actually, it's funny you said, because I bought it like the night it came out and was like, all right, I'm excited to watch it. I put it on, but it was late because I did like a midnight drop and was like, all right, I'm going to watch this. And it took me like 5 times to watch this movie, to watch it from start to finish, because the Flash is jumping fucking to different times in his life, but there's not ever like a rhyme or reason of where he's going or why he's jumping these places. Or
you have no idea, right? Like obviously these 3 movies are all going to tell one giant cohesive story.
Yeah.
This starts out as a jumbled mess. Like there's an old hobo who you don't know who it is.
Yeah.
It's Constantine.
Yeah.
Old hobo starts sending Barry Allen to different points in time. And you have no idea why. And he'll be like in the middle of something. And then all of a sudden he's somewhere else. Like, oh, he's getting married. Oh, he's an old man. Oh, him and the Justice League are fighting a Mazo. Oh, they're forming the Justice League. Oh, he's an old man again. Oh, we're back to his wedding day.
Yes.
Holy shit.
It jumps everywhere. And that was, because I tried watching it with the boys and like they couldn't, you can't as a kid because it's so hard to follow, which, I mean, granted, the comic book itself is like, there's no way that if I would explain to my sons like the Crisis comic book, that they would understand anything about like how it all comes together.
Yeah, if you tell this to a sane person that doesn't like follow comics like we do, they're just going to look at you like,
that sounds fucking utterly ridiculous.
They want to go jump off a bridge.
Yeah. Which, here's the deal though. I still enjoyed the movie.
Very much so.
I think that is why what I was trying to say at the beginning of the episode was like, it was, it's kind of like Rebel Moon. Like I want to save Judgment because it's a part 1.
Yep.
And I think when you have all 3 together, it'll make more sense and it'll feel more cohesive. But as an individual movie, which I think is that's where you run into like your biggest, like the biggest downfall of doing a part 1 of a movie. Like part 1 crushed it because those are 2 separate movies.
Yeah.
The separate characters. This is like, it's truly like a to be continued and we're stopping at a random point.
The one thing that I thought about this, like it does start off you're jumping all over the place. You're trying to figure out what the hell's going on, right? Like, this thing with the Mazo is going to tie in somewhere. The reason he keeps going back to his wedding day is important somehow.
Yeah.
You don't know. And then all of a sudden he's old.
Yeah.
And his wife's old. And like, you don't know what's going on there. It does do a very good job when you get half hour into the movie of kind of tying everything together. Like you're like, oh, okay, I know what that is. Okay, I know what this is now. I don't know why he's going to all these points in time yet, but it's going to start filling it out. So it does fill it out, right? Like it kind of tells you the story. He needs a Mazo because he needs to be able to build these towers in all the different universes to basically stop what's happening, right? We'll get to more of that in a minute. But then like the ending, it kind of throws you for a loop again and you don't know what the hell's going on. And then it ends.
Yeah. Yes. So they basically, universes are like being swallowed up by like nothingness, like big white, like wall of thing is
It's
just
like antimatter,
erasing.
right? Like it's a wall of
Yeah,
antimatter.
technically is what it's called, is antimatter. But like for the general, if you were just to turn it on and not know anything about it, it would just look like basically the world is erasing by a big giant white wave of wall. And which is very much from the movie or from the comic book. So like the thing that really stood out to me that I was like, what the fuck? Like I had my buddy Matt was over when I was watching it at one point, and like they are the crime syndicate, which is like the dark version of the Justice League, like Owlman, and I think it's Ultraman. Is that Ultraman?
Yeah, it's Ultraman,
Superman,
and Superwoman,
and Superwoman. Right? Like it's all like the bad guy versions of our normal Justice League. At one point, the antimatter wall is like erasing their, and they just like, the answer is to like run, like Superman, Ultraman was like, I'm just gonna fly in and punch this and make it go away. Like there was just some of that, like even Matt was kind of like, that, what, how dumb was that? Like why would they do that? And even like Owlman essentially does the same thing. He flies his owl bat jet into it and tries to blow it up, and it was like,
yeah, if he's
it's
like
clearly
the equivalent
erasing
of Batman,
the world.
he should know better. Like let's be
yeah,
real.
like it's clear. And there's a animated movie that follows the like the
Crime
Syndicate, and Owlman is a badass. The guy who voices him in that movie is
right.
Fuck, I can't remember. Family Guy, they always make fun of the actor.
You keep going, I'll look it
up. So like Owlman has been established as like a badass, and because of that other movie in comics. And so for this movie, they just kind of make them all seem like they're really important, and then they just do like the dumbest thing ever of like, there's no way that Superman and Wonder Woman and Batman would see this giant planet-sized wall of thing erasing the Earth, that the thought of just flying in and punching it would make it go away.
So he's in Justice League Crisis on Two Earths, and he's actually voiced by James Woods.
Yes, James Woods does. Yeah. And I mention that because Family Guy always like makes fun of James Woods. He does such a good job. His diabolical, evil Batman is badass.
And you know who voiced him in this? Lou Diamond Phillips.
Let's go.
Richie
Valens. There's a ton of voice actors in this movie that like,
beyond the main cast, there's a ton. Yeah,
that were cool. One of the things that really stood out to me, and I texted you this like right when I was like, you got to watch this movie. And at the time I had only been 10 minutes into the movie, so I hadn't been like totally mind fucked yet. The one thing I think, I mean, we've seen a million cartoons of the Justice League and these characters. They, for whatever reason, the costume design I thought was like cool, just the way they had drawn them. Like the Flash's mask like fit on him very different than like what you would typically see. Batman, I got more of like a Keaton Batman vibe of how they did his cowl, which I thought was really cool. So like for whatever reason that stood out to me in the movie. I really liked like how they went about the costumes and stuff. They made like the Flash look cool and interesting, and like he was actually wearing a wearable suit, if that makes sense.
It is one of the other things I like too about the animation is it felt like the different Supermans, they were animated differently, like very differently. Like it even it felt like in the Tomorrowverse version, the Darren Criss Superman, it feels like he's almost cell shaded, right? Like it feels like he is right out of a comic book. Whereas like the older, almost like New 52 Superman that he meets later on, who's like with Wonder Woman, right? Like it's Lois Lane's dead and he's married to Wonder Woman or whatever. He's very more like traditionally animated, if that makes sense. Like I liked how they differentiated that too. That was pretty cool. And then, you know, same thing, like obviously we're talking about, they bring all these universe superheroes together. The Monitor, right? We tell that story. The Monitor goes and basically sends the Harbinger out. Like you need to bring all the greatest champions from every version of Earth that's going to be destroyed together so that they can try and solve this problem together to solve this. What was cool about that was you had You had B-level superheroes that you don't see very much, like that are kind of neat to see on film. The Question, that was cool to see the Question on there. It was hilarious.
The Question.
Right. Everybody loves the Question. Right.
He's such a cool version of Rorschach.
Yeah. That's cool. You have you have Robin, and
that was cool.
Yeah, and then he had like the and I'm not familiar with Batman's daughter, Batman and Catwoman's daughter.
Huntress.
Yeah, I'm not super familiar with Huntress, but that was cool. Her meeting an alternate version of her father, and kind of the dialogue there.
Yeah, because in the world that she lives in, or the universe, Batman is dead, and so she's like not got to meet her father. So like that was cool. So like Batman meets Robin, and he knows Dick Grayson, but Dick Grayson hasn't become Robin yet in his world, and so that it was kind of like a cool, like, wait, who are you? Like Dick Grayson, Flying Grayson's like, oh, I know you, cool. And then Robin's like, yeah, let me introduce you to Huntress, like your daughter. Like,
and he puts right together. He like right away he knows, like, oh, Selena Kyle's your mom.
Yeah, which is a nice little world's greatest detective tip of the hat. So I thought that was really cool. Obviously it's a big part of the comic book that they have different versions of the heroes in it. Like I said, I'm excited to see the part 2 and part 3. I think once we get all of them together, this might be really, really cool. For now, it was a little bit like it was kind of jumbled. And you mentioned the Tomorrowverse, because there are a bunch of these movies out already, and there's like 1 or 2 that I've watched that I've been really into, and then there's been others that like I have no interest in at all. And so it's been a little bit different with this new animated universe compared to like the most recent one we had, where it was like they came out with like a movie and like we watch it and we are waiting for the next one to come out. Like all the Justice League movies, we got the beginning of the Justice League, and then we got the we got the Flashpoint, which was really cool. Like all that stuff was cohesive and I was into it. I'm not yet sold on the Tomorrowverse, if that makes sense. So
it's their next, right? Like it's their next thing after the DCAU, whatever that storyline was called. It's their next step. I will say this, like, I've never sat down and watched one of these animated DC movies that I mean, there's ones that I have no desire to see that whatsoever. And then I'll watch it, and I've never been like, I'm so disappointed I watched it.
Yeah.
Because their quality is very well done.
Yeah.
Even their worst ones are bad. I mean, like, okay, if you're going to compare animated DC movies versus live action DC movies, like there are very few where you're going to take any version of a live action over an animated movie.
Yeah.
Because they're so much better.
Made me think, like, because there's a ton of Superman animated movies that have come out over the last like 3 years that I don't think anybody really talks about, but like they're actually pretty good. Like they've got the death of Superman, and I don't think those are part of the Tomorrowverse.
No, they were part of the DC animated universe. I think that one was.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I liked it. I mean, if you're a nerd and you like any of the DC animated movies, like you should watch it. You'll enjoy it. So
yeah, for sure. I agree. I think so. I think the cast is great. Like there was some of those older casts, like, obviously Kevin Conroy's Batman is awesome. Right. Like, who used to be the Superman, like in the DCA? I think Timothy Daly was.
I forget his name, but he is
Timothy
iconic.
Daly was Superman for a while.
Iconic Superman voice.
There's a couple different ones, because I know there have been other actors, but Darren Criss does a good job as Superman. Darren Criss isn't somebody I would pick to be Superman. Matt Bomer's awesome as the Flash. Like everybody's great. Stana Katic's good as Wonder Woman. She's not really in this movie very much, compared to some of the other ones. But basically all these different things happen. It's all kind of focused around Barry Allen, right? They basically devise a plan. They realize these superheroes are there. The brainy superheroes are there to figure out the plan, and then the brawny superheroes are there to execute it, basically.
Make it happen.
To build it. They figure it out. They don't have enough time. And that's kind of where we realize that old man Barry Allen has been using the Speed Force to basically slow time so he can finish it with Amazo, right? Like that's what's going on. Which it's kind of hard to follow, because it jumps around so much to piece all that together. But then they save everybody's universe, and then they don't, and you got to figure out, and that's kind of how it ends, right? And it's like, oh, that's going to lead into part 2. So that's where it is. I mean, I really enjoyed it. I like all these DC animated movies. I mean, solid score. Like, I'm gonna give it a 7.
Yeah,
it's good.
Yeah. I think 7 is where I would put it too, because it's a movie that like I will watch again, and I enjoyed it. Yeah. It was a little hard to follow, but that's the Crisis on Infinite Earths story. So
if you're a big fan of like DC or DC animated movies, like, I mean, it's worth $20 to buy it. Yeah, now. I don't know where it'll end up. It's probably going to end up on like Max, like a lot of the DC animated movies are. If you want to wait, I don't know how long you're going to have to wait for that. It's probably going to be like 45 days to 2 months. Mm-hmm. You can wait for it. If you're really into that kind of stuff, drop $20. That's why they keep making these movies, because they're making money off them. That's kind of how they do it. I'm sure they'll put out a physical copy soon, because they always seem to put out physical copies of the animated movies. So, but 7's all around. Yeah. Recommended. Yeah. Crisis on Infinite Earth.
Go see
part 1. So
read the comic book.
Yeah. Kyle, that takes us into my favorite segment. There can be only 5. Only 5. So we're going to jump back into some of our end of the year, beginning of the year list. Mm-hmm. So mine was top 5 disappointments. And I did movies. I did straight movies that were.
I
disappointing.
When I read it, it looked very ambiguous, so I went with that. Of like, it didn't say top disappointments movies,
of the year.
Yeah. It was just disappointments of the year. So it's like
number 1, me to my parents. That's not what I meant. All right, so top 5 disappointments of the year. If you're good, I'll go first with that one, and then we can do the other list next. So these were the top 5 movies that disappointed me the most this year. And I want to preface it by saying, like, some of these movies I had high expectations for, and that's why they're on this list, right?
Yeah,
maybe there are worse movies behind it. But they weren't as disappointing because my expectations weren't that high, if that makes sense. So this is the top 5 movies that disappointed me. Everybody knows what number 1 is going to be if you listen to the show.
Yep. You just explained exactly how generally mine are.
Yeah. So everybody cares about everything else. Number 1, we already know. And I'll just, it's my last chance maybe to crap on that movie as we end out 2023.
God.
So my top 5 disappointments of this year, I did have one honorable mention, and we talked about this because we did this movie on an episode, and we talked about how disappointed I was because I had so high expectations for it. Mm-hmm. And I haven't gone back and I haven't watched it a second time, but my honorable mention is The Creator, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, you knew it was going to be on here.
Yep.
And it wasn't because it was a bad movie. I didn't give it a bad rating. It was because I wanted it to be a fucking golden 11, and it
epic,
right?
Yeah,
I wanted it to be the new sci-fi masterpiece. I wanted it to be the new Matrix or whatever, and it wasn't. Yeah. And that's what I was like, oh man, I wanted it to be so much better than it is. We talked about it previously. A lot of my problems centered around John David Washington. I didn't think he was very good in it, and the pacing kind of bothered me, when we were watching it. But that is an honorable mention. So all right, my list.
That's on streaming now.
It's on Hulu. Right?
Oh, is it available to watch? Like,
it's
not
on
purchase?
Hulu. Yeah, you can. Yeah, it's on Hulu.
I'm gonna put that on.
Yeah, it's on Hulu. That tells you how big of a disappointment a movie is. It's on fucking Hulu.
I've seen it a couple times on like Amazon Prime, and I'm like, oh, I need to rewatch that here soon.
No, it went to Hulu.
To buy it. Okay, I'm gonna do that.
Yeah. All right, number 5. I had Shazam: Fury of the Gods at number 5.
Wait. What was that? Your honorable mention?
The Creator was my honorable mention. Okay. I didn't want to put it as my top 5. I didn't want to put it on my list. I put it as an honorable mention, right? Because I feel bad. All right, number 5. I had Shazam: Fury of the Gods. The first Shazam movie was a breath of fresh air, in the DC superhero movies. It was very good. I enjoyed it. Like Zachary Levi is like a grown-up Billy Batson teenager with superpowers, was exactly what I wanted that movie to be. Mark Strong is the bad guy. Awesome. I enjoyed it very much so. I like the whole family dynamic with the siblings and everything. It was great. They did a great job.
Yeah.
I didn't hate the sequel, but they made grown-up Billy Batson 100 times more annoying. Like Shazam's so annoying. He's a crybaby as a teenager, grown-up old man teenager in this movie. The villains are terrible.
Yeah.
Like, who dug up Lucy Liu and gave her a starring role in a movie again? And then Helen Mirren.
God. That's going to go viral.
Helen Mirren is a fantastic actress. And she didn't want to be in this movie. And you knew it right away. Like, it was... Yeah. There were some funny parts. I laughed out loud. That part where she's riding the unicorn and she's like, taste the fucking rainbow or whatever. Like, the little girl saying that cracked my ass up. But it wasn't near as good as the first one, so that was disappointing, right? And obviously the box office reflected how not great of a movie it was.
Yeah. I think they just waited too long for that sequel. When the first one came out, I agree. Like Zachary Levi, he was like this new hotness. Everyone liked it. It was a breath of fresh air. And then fucking 5 years go by before they come out in the second one.
Maybe yeah. Yeah, like, Billy Batson went from 13 to 18 all of a sudden.
Yeah,
like,
they just took too long to, and by the time we were just over it. And by this point it came out, that universe was dead, right? Like the DCU.
Everything that came. Yeah, we knew the DCU was dead at the beginning of this year. We all knew.
Well, I'm saying like when Shazam came out.
Yeah.
I think it hadn't quite died yet, but it was like teetering. Like, remember, because they teased Henry Cavill's Superman at the end, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
Like, and so there was. So that was when they all still thought the Flash was going to be Flashpoint.
No, that was the end of the first one. That was the end of the first one.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Right. Yeah, so it was still alive then. But yeah, by the time the second one came out, the DCEU was dead.
It was dead. And so no one cared, and no one wanted to see it.
Right, nobody cared. Yeah. So number 4, I had Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania.
Oh, that's got to be hard for you, Marvel man.
It's not, because it was disappointing. I didn't dislike the movie, but it felt like they tried to make a Marvel Star Wars movie. Which, if you've seen this, you understand what I'm saying when you get to like the quantum realm, right? Like, it's very much like a galaxy far, far away, right? It's, you even have a cantina that feels like you've stepped into a Star Wars universe. Like, they tried very hard to do that, but it felt like this entire movie was a setup to bring Kang into the fold, right?
Yes.
Kang the Conqueror into the fold. He was a great villain. Like, Jonathan Majors was awesome as Kang the Conqueror, and we all know where that's at now, right? And like, didn't know that then, but the movie didn't get good reviews. I like Paul Rudd. I thought that was good. The Wasp, Evangeline Lilly, she's really good in the role, but she didn't get any kind of substance in this movie whatsoever. Michael Douglas and Michelle Pfeiffer are great as Hank Pym and Janet Van Dyne. Like, I like those characters in the Avengers universe, Marvel universe, but it was so like, just it wasn't what it needed to be. So that was number 4. At number 3, I had Exorcist Believer. You know, I remember when we did our most anticipated movies for the back half of last year. I had it on my list. I think I had it at number 1. Like, I was excited. That trailer came out with the music and stuff, the whole Tubular Bells, Leslie Odom, like, man, like, sign me. And David Gordon Green's doing it. Like, he brought back Halloween in 2018, and that was such a cool movie. And I was hoping for that. And we ended up with more Halloween Kills than we did Halloween. Like, it was like, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't good. And so that was a hang up for me. And then I heard he just left the sequel, because he did the same thing. He signed up to do a trilogy, and the second one's supposed to be called Exorcist Deceiver. He just exited the sequel, and they took it off the slate. Like, The studio paid $400 million for the rights to The Exorcist so they could do this, and now they're not even. Now they might abandon it. You know,
Damn.
like the movie made money because it had no budget, because horror movies don't. But now he's out as doing the sequel, and I don't know what they're going to do next. Right? Like it's
yeah.
Here we go.
It's wild to me because like I feel like anything that has to do with like exorcism or possession, those are horror movies that like people are gonna see because it's fucking freaky and creepy. Yeah. So like,
and there's that realm of, especially with religious people, like there's that realm of like it's real, you know?
Yeah.
Like some of this stuff's really happened.
I could see maybe them being like, well, the director's not doing it because the first one didn't do well or it wasn't Halloween 2018.
Mm-hmm.
So let's let things settle a little bit. We'll put it on ice, and then if we want to bring it back, or if we want to do just a completely new thing, then let's do a new thing.
Yeah, we don't have to churn out another sequel right away. We can give it a few years. Yeah, maybe Ellen Burstyn without her eyeballs won't be around because she's in her 80s, but like...
I forgot that she got her...
They dragged her out for 2 scenes and had her eyes gouged out with a crucifix, so I don't even know what the plan was there, but yeah, I mean, they scrapped that. But anyway, I had that at number 3. And number 2, I had Napoleon at number 2 for most disappointed of the year. I mean, you more probably than I was, super hyped for this movie, right? Like Ridley Scott, Joaquin Phoenix, biopic, Vanessa Kirby's a badass, and like we talked about that when we did the review for this movie. Like, I don't even know what that fucking movie was. Like, I still don't know, right?
If Want Want was a movie, it was this.
Like, it's circling the drain. Like, flush that turd. It's bad. Like, it's not what it should have been. You know, the reviews were pretty okay when it came out. It's not on any awards list whatsoever. Thank goodness, because I didn't. You know, sometimes there's an utter dud that sneaks into some of these award shows and like gets nominated for stuff, and I was worried that one was gonna. But
that's shocking that there's good reviews of that. It was so.
Yeah, it was positive overall. Like on the reviews, like I didn't get it either.
There's those movies that come out that like they just don't click with the general audience, but people think it's a masterpiece. I'm not saying that that's what this movie is, but I didn't get anything from this movie that was like, oh, I could see people really liking this, or like I could see there's an audience that's going to think this is good. It was like, this is too jumbled. You've got an American accent. You've got a British accent. Like, what's happening?
You're all
right
fucking
now?
French.
Yeah, you're all French. What's happening? You want to have a kid, a boy, like you finally have this boy, and then that's not important to the story. Like, what's going on? So, anyways.
Yeah, that movie was just a jumbled mess. Anyway, and then number 1, like, for the last time for me to shit on this movie.
First time in 2024.
The most disappointing movie of 2023. By leaps and bounds, if I could have listed this 5 times, I'd have had it 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, was The fucking Flash.
Yeah.
I hate it. I hate the movie. Like, because I'm so disappointed in what the final product was. You wasted bringing back. You talked Michael Keaton. You talked Michael Keaton into coming out of fucking bat retirement to come back and play Batman again, and you did that,
dude. Ugh. Now all I think is they really should have just brought Michael Keaton back and done Batman 3. Like, give us a sequel to Batman Returns.
I think we've talked about that too. I think we've said that before. Like,
we should have just done that so much. They like the second that he was barefoot, long-haired beard, jumping on the kitchen counter and doing like spaghetti fight choreography with a broom.
Right.
It was over.
And they don't even even in the movie, they don't even ever explain like why he's that way very well. Like they mention it, but it's like, what's the motivation where Bruce Wayne, Michael Keaton's version of Bruce Wayne from 1989 Batman, has turned into this hermit?
Yeah,
like you have ruined a character. I don't even give a shit about Ezra Miller's Flash. I mean, you've ruined a classic superhero completely. We're not even talking about. We're not even going to talk about how bad Ezra Miller is as a Flash. We're not even going to talk about how two Ezra Millers on the screen at the same time makes you want to, like leave the movie theater.
Let's give you two.
He give you two, and we're going to paint he's going to use an old Batman suit and paint it red. Like, what are we talking about? And then you even bring back Michael Shannon as Zod, and he's great, but he's phoning it in because you asked him to come in for like 3 days worth of work. Supergirl was great. The gal who played Supergirl was awesome. She was great. Yeah. She was probably, other than Michael Keaton, the only redeeming part of that movie. Yeah. And then to top it all off, no, two more things. Then you have the shit special effects, like the worst special effects in a modern film you could possibly have. Movies from the fucking 60s look better, special effects wise.
TV shows do.
Miniatures look better than the CGI they tried to crap out in this movie. And then you top it all off by taking the worst live action on-screen Batman and popping him in as a cameo at the end. You couldn't do anybody else. Like, you have already ruined the movie. Like, you could have dragged Adam West's skeleton out and it would have been probably better received.
They really like, it was like they finished filming and then they're like, all right, we've done a good job of ruining Michael Keaton Batman. Obviously, the Flash is already ruined. Michael Shannon's already come out with an interview about how he pretty much didn't care about this at all, and that clearly played a role in what people see the movie too. How do we really solidify people to just not finish with a good taste in their mouth? Let's fucking make everybody think that we're going to get the return of Batfleck. And then, boom, we'll pull one on him, a fast one, and give him Clooney.
Fucking Clooney. You could have. You've made Barry Allen return back to his own universe, right? You went back and changed one little thing with this video camera, right? To help save his father, and you know it's going to have repercussions, but you don't know what it is. And then when you kind of get the build up to this scene at the end, I'm sitting there in the theater like, oh my gosh, they're going to bring Michael Keaton in. Like, he's going to be this new universe's Batman, because now it will open them door for them to do Batman 3 completely, which is an awesome idea. And then it was like, oh, maybe they don't do him. Maybe they get Christian Bale in there. Man, that would be fucking cool, wouldn't it?
I think we Christian even Bale.
Whispered
that.
It's got to be Christian Bale. Like, who else could it be? Couldn't be anybody else. It's got to be Christian Bale. And like, we know it's not going to be Val Kilmer. You picked Clooney?
Yeah. Maybe he was the only one. I thought there was something that came out that they did ask Christian Bale, and he
said no. Right. He said, I want nothing to do with it.
Which makes, maybe that's why they went with Clooney, because
then you make it Michael Keaton.
Pile of shit.
Michael Keaton's already in the movie. You just make it Michael Keaton, and that's where you change that. It's not going to matter anyway because you've already killed the universe. Like,
yeah, true. This is true.
Clooney, die, get out. All right. Anyway, that's my list. Fuck the Flash.
Oh, the Flash, you son of a gun. Yeah, my list. Let's start. I do have an honorable mention. Actually, I have two honorable mentions, but kind of the same thing. I did not think these were bad movies. I just had a lot higher expectations for them. I wanted them to be good. I wanted to like them a lot more. I wanted them to be kind of like you mentioned, like the new masterpiece that I love. And they were okay. And that's The Creator and Rebel Moon Part 1. Both of those movies I don't think were bad, but they were okay. They weren't bad. They weren't great. I wanted to love them. They're okay.
Obviously, I agree with you on The Creator because I had it in the same spot. Rebel Moon I didn't have on my list because, like, I don't know. I guess I just don't go into like Zack Snyder movies anymore with like super high expectations.
Yeah, this is a good point.
And again, like when we did the review on this last episode, it was like, man, there were so many things right with it, and then visually, like, stunning. And it just, like, the back half of that movie that just felt rushed. I mean, I'm with you. Like, I totally get why it's on your list. I guess my expectations weren't as high on that one.
Yeah, I get that. That makes sense. And I should have too, because that's...
No, you wanted it to be this Star Wars
I wanted it
alternate.
to be
I
our
get
new
it.
Star Wars, and it
That's
just wasn't.
exactly why it should be on your list. I get it.
Yeah. And then my number 5, I had multiple movies. I just listed the DC animated movies this year that came out. Usually they're like crushing it with like the long Halloween movies that are fucking amazing. And this year we've got Justice League War Worlds, which I believe is part of the Tomorrowverse. That movie was horrible. It was not good.
I started watching it with you and then I fell asleep. It was like, I'm leaving. This is dumb.
It's like Warworld is a cool thing in like Justice League. It was in the cartoon show. It's ran by a guy that looks kind of like Darkseid named Mongol. He's like this big tyrant that oversees a planet that literally it's just like gladiator war all the time. And there's cool stuff in the comics about it. There's cool stuff in the TV show. This movie was like nothing like Warworld. Like Warworld wasn't even like really a part of it. It was literally they put the characters in like different universes. They basically wanted to do 3. Like, what would it be like if we did Wonder Woman in a old Western movie? Let's put Wonder Woman in an old Western setting. And then what would it be like if we put Batman in an old like barbarian setting and Batman was a barbarian like Conan? And then Superman was like, what if we put Superman in a black and white detective noir movie where he's a detective trying to find out? It had nothing to do with Warworld. And then at the very end, we got 2 seconds of Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman in their costumes, and it sucked. And then my other one that I wanted to be so good because the comic is so good, Batman: The Doom That Came to Gotham. The movie wasn't horrible, but it just wasn't. It was eh. I don't know if you've ever seen Gotham by Gaslight. The comic is amazing. It's basically what if Batman was in the setting of like Jack the Ripper time, and it's actually super cool. Batman is like a cross between Batman and Sherlock Holmes, and the story is very trying to find a guy like Jack the Ripper, and like they did a movie of it, an animated movie. It's fucking awesome. It's an awesome animated movie. It's like an Elseworld story, Batman back in Victorian era. It's fucking cool. You should watch it if you haven't.
Yeah, it's on Mix, I think. I'll try to watch it.
It's so good. Like, and it's adult. It's like, it's very adult. It's not for kids. Like, it's kind of gory and there's, I think, bad language in it. And anytime I put it on and the kids are around, my wife's like, turn that off. But it's fucking awesome. There's a good twist. They went a different route, a la every animated DC movie where they do a different twist than what's actually in the comics, which annoys me most of the time. But this one I didn't hate. I thought it was great. Comic book was better how they did it, but it's still good. The Batman: The Doom That Came to Gotham is essentially like a pseudo sequel to it. It's kind of in the same time period. The Bat costume is kind of similar, but it's not a sequel. It's its own world. But it's basically like a story of Batman and like Cthulhu type stuff. And sounds fucking great, right?
Yeah, it sounds awesome.
Batman, Cthulhu, like Victorian era.
I get some Lovecraft Batman in there.
It's very Lovecraft. Like the comic is great. The movie wasn't bad. Again, like it wasn't bad. I liked Gotham by Gaslight a lot better. It was okay. I wanted it to be a lot better and me to enjoy it a lot more, but it was like, this was cool. But if you haven't seen either of those movies, you should watch them. And then like I didn't want to put Crisis on Infinite Earths on here because like I still think it could be good and will be good, but just it was too jumbled to really be like, oh, this was it. DC dropped the ball this year. They didn't have anything good. They didn't have any home runs with their animated movies. So anyways,
or live action.
Yeah. Well, that's per their course for them.
Per the huge.
Yeah. Number 4, I have Exorcist Believer. Like you, I wanted that to be a great movie. I wanted that to be my new like fucking badass horror franchise, and it just was like, they could have done great, and they just dropped the ball. My number 3, Napoleon. This movie was exactly what you said. It was a jumbled mess of what the hell is that? I don't know who this movie's for. And it's pretty insane to have that director and that actor leading a movie, a historic biopic about one of the greatest conquerors of all time. And you find a way to make it fucking weird and boring.
And boring.
I looked at you right before the movie started and I said, I want this movie to be so good. I hope it's not like Alexander the Great that came out and with Colin Farrell. And at the end of the movie, it was like, fucking A, we got another Alexander. Like this movie fucking was
Might have been worse. I don't know. Probably not. They're both bad.
Yeah. My number 2, I've got Flash. Like you said, this movie, they fucked it up. They dropped the ball. Michael Keaton, Batman's back. You cannot miss, and you missed. DC, you're dumb for having an actor that's having Jonathan Majors type issues, if not like 10 times worse. And they still give the man a movie and they run with it. And it was not good. Yeah. And I think I even called it before we saw it. Like, I'm so excited for Batman 3. Like, let's call it Batman 3, the Flash, the Batman movie.
Yeah.
And it wasn't that. My number one biggest disappointment from this year was Dune 2 being pushed back out of 2023.
Yeah.
That was my most anticipated movie for last year. I was so fucking excited for it. Denis Villeneuve movies are my fucking catnip. Give me all of it. Give me that score. Give me that movie. Give me that cinematography. Fuck yes, Dune. And then they stabbed us in the heart by pushing it back because they cared about actors' rights and stuff. I'm excited for that movie to come out, but I am bummed that we didn't get it this year. That was by far my biggest disappointment, even more so than The Flash. So
that's fair. I get that because I knew how hyped you were for that movie. I guess to say it's probably on your next list somewhere.
Potentially on my next list.
Well, why don't you take us into that and let us know?
Yes. Okay, cool. My There Can Be Only 5 list this week, which actually is Howie's second list because I truly could not think of anything that we would do today as our second list. I was having a brain fart. But most anticipated movies of 2024. So we're at the start of the year. It's January. What movies are we excited about that are coming out this year? And just looking online, there's a ton of movies that I'm like, oh, like I didn't know that was coming out. Oh, that's going to be fucking awesome. Speaking of which, I'll start with my honorable mention. I have 2. I have Gladiator 2, which is a Ridley Scott movie. Obviously, the original. What's wrong? Is it not coming out?
I'm thinking of Ridley Scott and
after
Napoleon. I'm like, I don't know.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Ridley Scott, The Gladiator is one of the greatest movies of all time for like men. I would say most men think it's fucking amazing. With Russell Crowe, just impeccable. And then Napoleon came out, so now I'm a tiny bit nervous about it. I can't remember who's the lead in it. I don't really know much about it. I just know that it's coming out.
I know Pedro Pascal's in it. I don't know if he's the lead though. I don't think he is. It's keep talking.
Yeah, but I love that movie so much. I don't know why they're making a second one of it, but I am excited for it because of my love for that franchise.
Paul Mescal. Who's the main character? That? He's that actor.
No. Don't know who that is. This isn't a movie, but it is something I am anticipating and very excited for is the new, the Tales of the Dark Knight show that's going to come out. The basically the return of Bruce Timm Batman. I'm freaking stoked. That is my favorite cartoon, my favorite show. My kids watch it all the time. I put it on every morning. I force feed them to watch it. And so I'm excited for them to have new episodes of Bruce Timm Batman and Paul Dini, greatest Batman writers of all time. It'll be weird not having Kevin Conroy voicing it though. That is going to be strange. Okay, my number 5, most anticipated. I'm going with a double feature here at number 5. Marvel movies. Deadpool 3 and Kraven the Hunter. I think both of them look great. When they originally dropped the trailer for Kraven, one, I was like, holy fuck, this looks cool. Also, how is that coming out in like a month? Like we're just now hearing about it and it's coming out next month. Just kidding. No, it's not.
Delayed.
And then, yeah, denied. That and Deadpool 3. Deadpool 2 was cool. It was actually like Cable in that movie was fucking awesome. I liked that movie a lot. Juggernaut was a character that I was always like, I loved fucking Juggernaut as a kid. Movie was cool. I think number one, Deadpool 1 was more like iconic, like memorable. But number 3, we're getting freaking blue and yellow Wolverine. And Hugh Jackman's coming back. So I'm excited for that. I think that looks awesome. I was kind of annoyed that got pushed back. But excited to see because it's become a meme of all these things of like, who's in it? This is in it. Like all these behind the scenes, like leaks are coming out that now it's like, there's now like a million rumors of different people and actors that are going to be in it. So I'm excited for it. Number 4, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. We've talked about this. I love this franchise. The quality of these movies have been just amazing. I am very excited for that. The trailer got me juiced. Makes me want to go back and rewatch all of them, just to, maybe not necessarily the James Franco one, because I've seen that too many times. I don't need to, but I need to see the other two before I see this one again. Number 3, this is a prequel to one of my favorite movies ever, Furiosa Mad Max. The trailer looks fucking great. The movie looks freaking awesome. I freaking love Tom Hardy, Mad Max movie. It won a ton of awards. I am shocked that we didn't get a sequel to that movie. I'm shocked that they're doing this prequel before they would do a sequel with Tom Hardy, but maybe he doesn't want to play the character again. But it looks freaking awesome. So the like the visuals, the cinematography looks exactly like the Mad Max movie. So I'm excited for that. I think that's going to be great. Number 2, Spider-Man 3. What's this? Beyond the Spider-Verse. All the Spider-Verse ones. The last 2 have been they've been the best Spider-Man movies in a very long time. Arguably, the last one was the best Spider-Man movie ever, which is crazy to say. In terms of like my Spider-Man I grew up with was Peter Parker Spider-Man. So like having it not be Peter Parker Spider-Man is still like, this doesn't feel like the Spider. I'm sounding like a racist white guy right now. That's not what I mean.
No, I get it.
But it was such a good movie. Miles Morales is so good. The actor that plays him is so good. We get Peter Parker Spider-Man. We get all the crazy other weird spider characters in it. And the animation, like the first movie was incredible. I remember walking out and being like, that was like, if a comic book was to be a movie, like this truly is what that could and would be. And then the second one, like one-upped that by a million. Like it was so good, so fun. I'm excited for the third one. They did a great job of to be continuing the end of that movie, where like I can't wait for the next one, but I didn't feel like that movie doesn't live on its own and stand on its own legs. So excited for that one. And then my number 1, the creator of Blade Runner 2042 is dropping Dune 2, and I cannot wait.
Dropping a deuce.
He's dropping a 2.
Dune deuce. Yes. Number 2.
I am excited for this movie. It looks awesome. The trailers look freaking great. Paul Atreides is riding a freaking sandworm. Epic. Give me that. The second those freaking drums hit, I'm fucking like, I'm up. I'm ready. I'm excited. I'm 6 to midnight right now. Give me that movie. Stop making me wait. Give me Timothée Chalamet as the Messiah.
2 more months. You got to wait 2 more months. And then you can.
We're almost there.
We're almost there. Good list. I like your list. We've got a couple similarities, some not.
Okay. Ooh.
But we've got some. All right. So my top 5 most animated movies of 2024. 2 honorable mentions.
Anticipated movies.
That's
what I say. Anticipated.
What did I say?
You're doing most animated movies?
No,
I did most
anticipated. I can't read. Anticipated.
Like you said, you didn't watch any animated movies this year.
Maybe I had that written down because that was going to be the original list, and then I shouldn't change it to animated to anticipated and Twitter-pated. All right, I have 2 honorable mentions. The first one is Dune 2, right? Like,
okay, honorable mention.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, we have different style. I mean, it's I liked it. I like the first one. I'm excited to see the second one. I'm shocked it didn't come out in 2023. I still think that's a crazy decision. This movie that's like this big award winning, like potential, all that, a lot of people thought it would be at the end of the year conversations for one of the greatest movies of the year, but I always look at it when movies get delayed, it can't be anything more than a positive because it gives them more time to maybe do some more editing, right? To polish, to maybe add some more effects or something like that. Like maybe there's some more they're putting into it that'll be positive. So we'll just kind of wait and see. And then my other honorable mention is Borderlands, the movie. I'm curious. Oh, yeah. I'm curious to see what they do with that, right? Like, I mean, the cast looks amazing. Eli Roth's directing. I can't remember the name of the writer, but it's the same writer that wrote the Last of Us TV series. Like, you're bringing good. You're bringing in somebody that like obviously knows how to adapt video games into something on the screen. So I'm really curious because there's not a lot of information out there. If you ever played the Borderland games, they're kind of the wacky space kind of. They're different. So I'm curious to kind of see.
Eli Roth has done such like his movie list is so random.
It is very random. He's an odd
Cabin Fever, Hostel Part 2, Planet Terror.
Yep.
Knock Knock. That's the one with Keanu and the 2 girls.
And Ana de Armas is one of them.
Yeah. Death Wish with the
remake.
Yeah, why can't I think of the name of the actor? Bruce Willis.
Yeah.
The House with Clock with Walls for Walls.
Yeah, The House with the Clock at the Walls. Did you ever see that? With Jack Black and Cate Blanchett. That's a cool movie.
Is it good?
Yeah, it would be like an entrance to horror kind of movie. It's a kids movie. Really, but
so that when you say that, it makes me think like kind of Goosebumps. Like
very much Goosebumps vibe. Okay. Right, but it's but not.
Love that.
But yeah, it's a good movie.
Finn and Thanksgiving. Those are the other movies that he did. Which obviously
I don't know what Finn is, but Thanksgiving was awesome. They're making a sequel to that. But
Finn's like a shark movie. He did a shark movie.
That makes sense because they have fins. Anyway,
sorry, I was just. You said that. I was like, why did they pick him for that?
I don't know. Because he does. I don't know. Maybe because they're going to have some horror vibe to it. I don't know. But anyway, yeah, those are my honorable mentions. At number 5, I have The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare. 3 words. Guy Ritchie, World War II, Henry Cavill.
That's way more than 3 words.
It's three things. Three things.
3 items.
3 items. The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare. Big fan of Guy Ritchie movies. Gentleman, Rock and Rolla, Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. Snatch is my all-time favorite. Like I love, and I want this to be a World War II movie that is in the vein, and it's supposed to be like a spy thriller kind of deal. So I'm thinking like Henry Cavill, Man from U.N.C.L.E., right? Like, because that was a Guy Ritchie movie, super underrated. If you haven't seen Man from U.N.C.L.E., that movie rocks. Mm-hmm. So I'm kind of hoping for that. So I'm excited for that because that's actually this spring.
Wait, name that one again. Is that the one where he's
the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare?
Is that the same as, because there's a Henry Cavill John Cena movie that is coming out where like
no, you're talking about Argyle.
Okay, that's
with the cat.
Okay, cool,
right? That's
yes, where he's got like a fucking flat top. He looks like Guile from fucking Street Fighter.
Yeah, it's a terrible haircut. Anyway, yeah, that's a totally separate movie. That comes out in like 2 weeks.
Okay, I don't think I know much about the movie you just talked about, and
you should
now
look at
one
that.
of my most anticipated movies. That sounds awesome.
Yeah,
Did you
sounds
watch?
awesome.
Did you watch the Guy Ritchie movie that came out this year, The Covenant?
No, the Jake Gyllenhaal one. I didn't see that.
Yeah, I watched it like a couple weeks ago out of nowhere, and
Yeah,
it was good. It's a good movie. It's nothing like his other movies, but it was
no, but I mean,
movie.
he also did Aladdin.
Yeah, that's so weird.
Yeah,
he's all over the place.
He's good. I like him. At number 4, I have Beetlejuice 2. I'm
not shocked there.
I'm excited to see what they do with a sequel where they bring back Michael Keaton as fucking Beetlejuice. I love Michael Keaton, and I'm just like, let me see 70-year-old fucking Michael Keaton rock out Beetlejuice again 30 years later or whatever.
Michael Keaton's about to wrap his career up by redoing all of his original movies in new versions.
So he can be, like instead of Mr. Mom, he's going to be Mr. Grandma. I don't give a shit. Yeah. Like he's the ghost with the most. He's fucking Batman. I don't care. Let's do it. I'm excited. Anyway, Beetlejuice 2. And I mean, like Winona Ryder's going to be back in it. Obviously, Tim Burton's doing it. They're bringing in Jenna Ortega and Willem Dafoe. Like,
perfect.
Awesome.
How perfectly
on brand
for that world.
Exactly.
On brand.
So I have that at number 4. And number 3, I have Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. I'm pretty Jones to see. Like the scope of the movie looks awesome. We've got the old guys back. We've got the new people from the Afterlife movie. We got Paul Rudd. And they're bringing in some other new characters. I'm pretty excited to see that. I think it's going to be good. Yeah, I don't know. It looks, the scope of it, we talked about that, I think, on a previous episode when we talked about when that trailer dropped. Like, the scope of it looks much more large, like a massive, bigger movie, than any of the other Ghostbusters we've seen.
I got to go back and watch Afterlife again. It's been a while, and I think I just watched it one time with Grayson, so I need to give it another shot.
Solid movie. Yeah, it's good. And then at number 2, I have Spider-Man Beyond the Spider-Verse.
There it is.
Yeah, like I think I've talked about it enough. It's one of my favorite movies of the year, if not my favorite movie of the year. The only reason I probably didn't have this at number 1 is just because I almost want to have it like number 1B. It's like 1A and 1B because it's so close to number 1. But they don't have an exact release date. They had it initially on there, I think, for March, and then
we don't have a date for that. I thought
no, there's no date.
Early.
No, it was supposed to be March, but when the strikes hit, they put it indefinitely on it, and they have not set a date. So we're still kind of sitting on that one waiting. But anyway, have that all the reasons you say.
4 months can really like wreck an entire year of fucking movies.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. But yeah, that's, everything you said about that movie and the first 2, it's hard not to be excited for it. Number 1, Deadpool 3. I'm a Marvel guy. You know that. Like Hugh Jackman coming back as Wolverine when he's like nobody expected him to come back. That did it for me,
Yeah.
Give me him in the costume, right? Like,
oh yeah, I'm so fucking juiced.
Let me see how they make it work. And considering it's the only like MCU movie we're getting this year,
that's why
I gotta be Jones for it. I mean, I gotta be excited.
Yeah, I think it looks so like he just looks fucking cool. Like it's going to. I know they've leaked a ton of behind the scenes people filming and taking pictures of them fighting on this beach, but like that scene, even though I've seen the behind the scenes of it or clips of it, it's going to be so cool and epic watching badass Deadpool get fucking adult rated N17 movie wrecked by Wolverine. It's going to be fucking awesome.
And the cool thing about it is everybody had all this, skepticism with Disney taking over, right, from Fox, and Deadpool. Is Deadpool going to be rated R? Are they going to do Deadpool like the first 2 were? Are they going to be super violent and all that? And I'll tell you right now, the show that just premiered last week on Disney Plus, Echo, if you have any doubts that Marvel has no issues whatsoever with putting out violent content, that movie's pretty damn violent. That show. I mean, so like
that's good to know.
It's good to know that they're like hey, we understand what people want. We're going to go for it.
Yeah,
we're not going to hold back. 100%. They can't. You can't water down Deadpool. You can't. It's impossible.
Yes, I am so glad that they dropped that Ryan Reynolds fan film that turned into them making the movie that has now turned into being like one of the coolest movies ever.
Absolutely. And for a low budget, and look at what that's done for both his career and the directors. Like they've blown up, right? They're doing all sorts of stuff now. And I mean, everybody kind of knew who Ryan Reynolds was before that, and now he's like in everything. I mean, he's now an A-lister because of how successful and how well that first Deadpool was. There's a lot of people out there that say Ryan Reynolds is the same person in every movie. That's not inaccurate.
Yeah.
But he's like a human cartoon.
He is Deadpool.
He's Wade Wilson.
He is so fucking good as Wade Wilson. And I'm so glad he got to have his redeeming movies.
Yeah.
Because when he was in X-Men Origins, people were like, "Oh, his funny quips at the beginning were totally Wade Wilson," but then they completely ruined that character. So,
oh my god, don't talk about it.
It's gonna be fucking great. So nice.
Yeah.
Love your list. Love that.
Yeah. Lots of good movies coming out this year. There's a ton of other movies that haven't even been mentioned yet. I think I sent you one. There's some Tom Hardy movie that's coming out that's directed by the guy that did The Raid and the Raid 2, which are two of my favorite. Some Tom Hardy action movie coming out. Sign me up for that. I don't even remember what it's called. And obviously some of these movies don't have trailers. We don't know anything about them yet. And yet, they're coming out. We just, find more information. And we'll probably do like we did last year. We'll do like a back half of the year anticipated movies, because we're going to hear about more stuff. There's going to be some more stuff coming out that we, isn't even on any list yet. So, but lots to look forward to. Maybe we won't have as many movies this year as we have in previous years because of the strike, but we don't have any DC movies like live action. We have one Marvel movie, which that's crazy to think about, that there's no DC and there's one Marvel, right?
Yeah, that is so wild.
And the cool thing about that is that gives us an opportunity.
There's a DC movie. The Joker's coming out, but
yeah, you're right.
But it's not necessarily
its own thing,
like a superhero movie.
Yeah, it's its own thing. It's like Spider-Verse cartoon movie. Like they're their own thing. They don't tie in.
For sure.
So
good point.
But yeah, I'm with you on that. But yeah, that takes us to the end of episode 33 of the Movie Dads podcast, Crisis on Infinite Earths, Part 1.
Go see it.
Go see it. And if you're watching this on YouTube, please give us that like and subscribe. Click that bell. Tell us what you like. Tell us what you don't like. Leave us a comment. If you're not watching us on YouTube, hopefully you're catching us on one of the many podcast networks such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, Google Podcasts, and Podcast Index. You can find us on social media to see some of our short clips and videos at Movie Dads Pod on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. We will hopefully be back in a week this time.
We'll be better.
No more snow apocalypse. We'll be back in a week, hopefully, with episode 34. TBD. We have not made a decision on what that episode's going to look like. So stay tuned for that. We'll send that information out shortly. And then we will see you next week. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Bye.
Bye.